And now our guest speaker, Kelly J. Wright, taking us on a deep dive into self-love.
Good morning. Good morning, Unity of Bremerton. Michael, that was just beautiful. I love that song. I'm really excited to be here and to share in the I Am energy with you today, to share a little bit of my story and the work that I've created from it. My name is Kelly J, and I'm a self-love transformation guide, author, and I'm the voice and host at Internal Narcissist Radio and Conscious Speaks. I am on a master's path of enlightenment, and I live and grow out loud to inspire others. I've been doing this for 7 years. And so every year I get a little bit of a surprise. Right now, I'd love to kind of create a container for us to dive into so we could talk about self-love. And I'd like to take a moment if we could all center ourselves. And then we're going to take a deep breath in. And then a deep breath out. And take another deep breath of I am in. And exhale, I am out. To create this container, we talked about it earlier, about every little cell in our body. So we're going to create this cellular container for us today that we can all feel comfortable and feel our divine Christ light flowing through us while we jump into my share, a deep dive into self-love. I'm going to share on 2 parts today. And one is what I call the 5 W's of self-love. And then after that, I'm going to talk about the self-love quadrant. And it is a 4-step process to seek the foundation of self-love. And they readily become tools that we can use at will to center ourselves when lightning strikes, or we have days like that, because we're all going to have days like that. And like Marilyn's word for the day, or her, phrase, inner peace, these tools help us get back to that inner peace within, that I am presence at will, because everything is a choice, and it's just thought away for us to flip from fear to love. So just a little bit about me. The work that I teach and guide is the book that I wrote. I always say download through spirit. We work together to walk my mind out of darkness. A lot of it that I had trapped myself in over my life, internal journeys, the spiritual transformation. And I did that 7 years ago through deep meditation and water work. A lifelong seeker of the way. I didn't know exactly what that was for a long time, but I had a inkling in the back of my heart. And my aunt's a healer and a light worker, so I had some good guidance. It wasn't superimposed, but I was equipped with some good tools from a young age and knew I was on a journey. And I knew that God was within me and not without. So I had some pretty powerful tools to help guide me through my life up until 43, when I processed and brought through the book and the work that I now teach. And one of the main qualifying factors to hold self-love is to understand what it is. And it's not new, but we all deliver it in different ways. And that's the exciting part, the radical new ideas that have been around forever that we all get to share through our own experiences are what really unite us. And so when I look at what the 5 W's are, I really thought that'd be a great way to reintroduce my version of self-love. It answers questions and gives us answers that are considered basic, but really help us hone into how our frequencies, how our operating systems work. We want to know who things are, what things are, where they are, when they happen, why do we need them before parts of our cellular structure can open up to commit to those big awakenings. And so when we think about the 5 W's and we think about who does self-love benefit, well, it benefits everybody. It benefits all of us. When I first answered that question, I wrote it benefits I, we, and all of us. And then, when we think about what is self-love, we talk about it a lot, and things that get talked about a lot, sometimes their definitions kind of sink down to the lower parts of our vibration, and we forget that we're recalling feelings, but have we really liberated them to be free in real time? So self-love is a placement. It's a placement inside of us, that container, that on a heart to love, that unstruck sound, that place where we come from, that perfect love that can never be touched or tainted, and that we always can connect to once we have a pathway. And that's the real true beauty of self-love mastery, which is how we hold that I am presence at will for long periods of time, and more the longer that we practice. You know, it says, where is self-love? And it's inside our heart. That's where it resides. And so we can free our mind so that we can actually open up our heart to shine freely. When we free the mind from that chatter, from the endless questions and the collective conscious that is going on around us every day, we really get to free that space and we get to shine bright. Just recently, as last night, I was my mind was going a little, and I had to remember that the reality that whenever I'm open, I could receive. And so it was really funny. Last night, all I kept saying was, oh, I'm open to receive. And then every thought would just disappear. I thought, well, that's really great, because that is like the shortest phrase that I have found recently that will flip our frequency on command. It's like, when I'm open to receive. I'm open to receive, Spirit. I'm open to receive. I am. Everything else falls away. And so it's really powerful. Where do I need it? What does it give me? It gives emotional freedom, which is seriously the most amazing freedom we can ever have, and which really, I think about, ties into only believe. If we only believe we can have emotional freedom, then we can harness the potential to become inner peace, that on a heart to love, that unstruck, beautiful love frequency that we can shine bright in. And so it's really fun to use these tools to remember them and why. Why is really important, because when we want to start a new task, if we want to take on a new way of being something, if we want to upgrade the way that we connect to something, we have to have a why. We have to have a why. And so the 5 W's will always be able to get us on track, so we can know the who, what, where, when, why is self-love important. And something that I've been using, why do I need to go back and relearn it? And that's as true as anything in these days, where this is changing times. So for us to upgrade and really become who we came to be, and to up level our energy frequency connecting to I am, I think it's time for all of us that are seekers and followers of the word, and those light workers in spiritual path of enlightenment seekers, that we have the greatest responsibility, because we already know all this, so we can up level. And it's really fun to think, wow, how much more can I access self-love? How much further can I go into my cellular structure and really open up the cells and seat the spirit? You know, we're human, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So how can I be that spiritual being in my body, seated more often, so I can really reflect I am out to the world? When I was reading in a book, and it said, or it was a video, I can't remember, I was watching, it said, we don't have to be perfect, but we just have to believe in ourselves. And that's kind of along the same lines of saying, I'm open to receive, and then all doubt falls away. So self-love mastery, I feel, is such an important tool for us to learn or reintroduce ourselves to, and to find new ways to love ourselves. Because when we love ourselves, then we reflect that out. The mirror reflection of I am work is so fun. There's a lot of I am going on in our container today. I loved the song that we sang, and it really makes me sparkle, because I remember the first time I really connected and understood what I am meant to me. And I knew when I went into what is another, how that worked, and I am another, and all the different facets of I am, really coming in through that mind, body, soul connection to flip those mirrors, so we can embody, balance the opposites of masculine and feminine, and really seat the soul in self-love, self-worth. It's a funny thing to think about, but we're already actually activating and working with love every day. Just how are we? There's not a moment that we aren't. And I believe that so truly. To me, in my studies, I found that fear is unrealized love. So even when people are in fear or in pain, they're still operating through love. It's just unrealized love. It's unbalanced love. I come to believe that fear is a third-party intruder to our pain, and it doesn't care about us, so it will take up residence if we provide it a host. If we are open to receive fear, it will steal our inner peace. When we're open to receive I am, the darkness can't get in. It's been really powerful and fun work to share, and I'm so excited to be sharing it here today. What really seeps the soul is when we work with the 4 steps of self-love mastery, and I lately have come to call them the self-love quadrant. So we're working with the 4 selves. And whenever you hear the word selves, it's such, phonetically, I always hear cells. So we're always working with our cellular structure, ourselves, our cellular structure. What do we hear? What frequency are we vibrating at? How are we accessing I am? Are we not open to receive I am? Are we temporarily in fear? How do we right that inner peace? Again, it'll come back to only believe. But we have to practice. It's a continuous practice. And what other joy would there be in life but to practice connecting to I am, in my words, so we can be that, to create this beautiful residence on earth. And they say that it only takes 6.5% of the population to flip the frequency from fear to love. And so in collaboration with all those who've come before me, I've jumped on that train, and it's my joy and my dedication to help raise that vibration. I got excited. That vibration. Divine light, Christ consciousness is something that I set sail for in this journey, and I have never let go. It's my one truth and my why in life. When we look at the self-love quadrant, I'm going to break it down for you. There's the 4 quadrants that we use to seek this foundation of self-love at internal journeys. The way that we create that mantra that really quickly can help us get back to that center. It's through the first quadrant, which is self-love. And then the second quadrant is self-awareness. And the third quadrant is self-worth. And then the 4th quadrant is self-love mastery. So those 4 lessons are broke down into the first 4 chapters in my book. Such a gift. When I was writing and walking my mind out of darkness 1 week at a time, I didn't know where this was going. And it's such a gift that it's not mine. I don't claim it. I was open and available to receive, and gifts can be taken away if we don't practice and stay humble and kind. And so I work really well to try and share this with everyone as graciously and openly as I can. And the way it started is I made a declaration to grow in. So if we think about the first quadrant as self-love, and we're going in to create this new container for us to have at will, the first dedication we make is to self-love, and it's to learn to love ourselves in a whole different way. It doesn't necessarily mean that the way we were loving ourselves is bad or wrong, but there's always other ways to connect, and there's always deeper that we can go. And I decided that, if I felt perfect love at one time and I wasn't feeling it now, there had to be a way I could get back to it. So it has to do with our thoughts. Everything is thoughts and words and that vibration in our structure. And so when we make a declaration, the first thing we do is make a declaration to grow internally. So I'm going to grow in, and we get to draw a line in the sand at that moment in time. We could do this anytime in our life, and we can do it numerous times. And I'm sure we all have or will, if we are working to get out those kinks on a master's path of enlightenment. And so we make that declaration to grow in, and we draw a line in the sand. And that line in the sand says, okay, this is my declaration, Spirit. This is my dedication to self-love. And I am going to look at everything to this point backwards. on both sides, right? The masculine and the feminine. We got to balance those opposites, and then see what's sticking out. Just what's sticking out. That first dedication is just to say, hey, I'm thinking about my thoughts. What are my thoughts showing me? What am I presenting myself? It's so powerful to realize we really don't need tons of money or tools to go to the next level. We need a dedication, which sometimes is the hardest to make the decision. But just that first thought is enough to think about your thoughts and go, I'm interested to think about my thoughts. This one keeps coming up. I want to look at it, see if I can flip it, figure out where it came from, recode that thought, to love it through. And so that grow in statement, the first quadrant, is really powerful. It's the declaration to grow in. Once we do that, then we move into the second quadrant. Now, the second quadrant, I think, sometimes could be the hardest because it is where we're going to meet ourselves through our words. So we're going to meet ourselves through our words. If we've done inner child work, if we are further in the journey, or if we've never done inner child work, wherever we are, wherever that shadow part of us needs healing, they're going to show up. And this is why it's really important that, first of all, we have that dedication to grow in, because we make a promise that we're not going to leave. We're going to stick to the work. We're going to figure out what it is to help us shine brighter. And we're going to open up those frequencies through our words. So when we dive into the second quadrant, that's all about self-awareness. We're becoming more self-aware. Truthfully, we're becoming conscious of us becoming conscious. And we're working with that third flip of the mirror to really see the self as it's being and as it's thinking and presenting to us ways that I believe through pain, because it hasn't flipped yet, to love, how to grow and break open that dark that's blocking us from that Anahata to love, that deep inner peace that's just sitting right behind the fence that fear built. And so quadrant 2 is meeting ourselves through our words. Quadrant 3, which is just as equally important and sometimes as hard, but really beautiful, is our self-worth. And we're going to work with beauty. We're going to find the true nature of our beauty. If we think about it, we were talking about it this morning, when we think about I am, our cellular structure, when we think about self-love, self-care, when we look into ourselves through those eyes of the universe experiencing itself, we're learning to love ourselves for who we are, free from fear. Free from fear that was put there on accident when we didn't have the time to think about how to protect ourselves in a way that made sense, when we didn't have the skills that we have now. When we draw that line in the sand and we look backwards, we have to go meet that memory in time from our new point of view, from the old point of reference, and we have to make friends with it. We have to make friends with it and love it through. And so it's really passionate work. It's compelling work, and it's grow slow work. I like to grow slow at internal journeys. So when we really embrace self-worth, we get to really take back the reins of when lightning strikes. Because we're all going to have days like that, because we're in relationship to each other. Although the only true relationship I believe we're ever truly in is the one with ourselves and with spirit. But we do affect each other. And so learning how to really seek the soul and really how to claim self-worth allows us to really claim our fourth quadrant, which is the self-love mastery, and that is called our shine bright frequency. So everyone has their own internal song and frequency that they run on, and it's however we come, I believe that's who we came to be. So if we try to be someone else, we might miss out on the most important part of our journey. No, I believe that we will. And it's so important that in the world, as confusing as it can be for anyone, in almost any time in history, to learn to see ourselves through our own eyes. When we can break open that and drop that first veil to really truthfully see ourselves. You know, I was blind, but I could see ourselves. It's the most powerful reaction to self-love that you'll have. Because until then, we're all searching for someone to see us. So that's why, you know, self-love mastery to me is the most important tool. When we go into the self-love quadrant and we meet ourselves through our words, we claim the true nature of our beauty, and then we learn who we are, who we really are, not who we want to be, not who we ended up along the way. We get to learn who we are when we're carrying the parts of us that we need to love through, and then see who we can be when we love those parts free. We really open up and set the foundation of self-love. Then we can shine brightly in the hues of our own intentions, and it's powerful and beautiful work. Once we see ourselves, we free ourselves. It really comes down to, it was in the song today, only believe. Someone who first, I'll tell a little story about myself. I had a guest on my radio show, Art Mitchell. Actually, no, I'm sorry, Art Dretlaw. And he and I were discussing his work and my work. And he said that I should check out Unity. And that my work was really in line with the principles and the thought processes and the same resonance. And he's the one who told me about the power of only believe. That was just last year. There's always something else to learn. There's always someone who can give you another phrase or another way to flip a thought or a frequency so we can have true joy. We're never too young or too old to change the way we feel about ourselves, so we can be that bright light, break open that mirror, shine our light through. To only believe, it's so powerful. And the reason why that is the most powerful belief is for the one that comes before it. And it's another lesson I learned in this journey. And it's that we are what we believe. We literally are what we believe in real time. We are creating from a placement. We talked about that in the 5 W's. We are creating that from a placement that's been compiled over our soul journey. And at all the different parts. And when we're in real time, there's so much stimulus that sometimes we don't realize there are parts of us forgotten that need healed. I know it was for me. And those parts are what are creating that little chink in the loop, when we want to give and receive. True I am, right? I am another. We want to give and receive the world we're creating. It's from the energy frequency that we're shining in. So once we open up our words, once we open up our thoughts, we can trace them back to that energy loop or not that's kind of just sitting there going, I get rubbed up against every once in a while, and I'd love to be loved through. So I'm going to show you this through frustration or shortness or coping mechanisms or not being able to center ourselves. I've come to believe that all the shadow work is really us from behind that wall, that fear belt, going, let me in, let me in. This is where you need to look. This is where you need to look. I've never felt so blessed as finding this work. I've never been so blessed to find people that are like minds, like our container here today. Some people don't know it's out there. And that's why it's really important for all of us to keep, being that love light, to shine so greatly and beautifully within our own mind, body, soul, to know that as we present our light and our dark is exactly how it's meant to be. There's no shame, no stigma. And when someone's having a bad day, it's never about us. And if we make it about us, they'll be able to go look at that, draw a line in the sand and go back and look again. I've been consistently doing this for 7 years. I traveled across the state and back. I self-led myself through 3 90-day transformations, opening up what is called or termed a supramental transformation. I didn't know that's what it was at the time. I just followed my heart. And so defiantly, it didn't matter what it looked like on the outside or felt like on the inside. I truly believed that everything in my life that was happening is for my soul journey. That if I'm a spiritual being on a human mission, human experience, this journey, then everything that's happening, I chose. And it may have been, twisted along the way, or I might go down some different paths because of the beautiful thing called free will. But I created it, so I must be here to learn a lesson. And believe me, there were some tough ones that most people might wonder, how could you have ever looked at that positively? But we're going to go back to, the two tools that I was set up real early within life. That's that God was within me, and I was on a spiritual journey. This is my life. And it's yours too. We're all one. Internal Journey is a spiritual transformation. My book saved my life. I'll never be more grateful for this book, for the connection that I was looking for. It's over 22 vlogs in there, I call them, that help us look and process old things in a new way. To open up sentences, to open up our heart. You just think of those two words, I am. That's 3 letters. And it's everything. It is going to give us our inner peace. It's going to give us that container. It's going to help us remember that, we're all children of God, of the universe. That we're all this beautiful, big, connected structure. All is one. I'm the universe experiencing myself. If we have days like that and we think about how quickly it can be to turn them around, if we just remember. I hope that my talk today, the share on the 5 W's of self-love and the self-love quadrant can help. I live by them. Many of my clients do. If we only believe and we use new tools, I surely believe that we can find new doorways and new pathways, because as they always say, my father's mansion has many rooms. There's so many ways to connect to self-love and to go up further, to free our cellular structure so we could be so completely at inner peace, just like Marilyn's phrase of the day. My name is Kelly J. Wright, and I'm a self-love transformation guide. I'm on a master's path of enlightenment. I live and grow out loud to inspire others so that we can all remind each other as we walk this long and winding road that we are all children of God and that everyone is here on their divine soul journey, and we're all perfect as we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm going to open it up so that if anybody would like to ask Kelly some questions, please do so.
Hi, I'd like to ask a question, or rather, I'd like to just make a comment. It occurred to me during your talk that self-love is self-care, and self-care is love. During this time of pandemic, right? There's all these things that we're advised to do that are for our safety as well as everybody else's safety, right? Things like wearing a mask when we're in public and social distancing and using sanitizer and things like that. But other practical things too, like we're advised not to go to these large gatherings where the chance of exposure is really there and has been proven. So it just occurs to me that those times when we take care of ourselves by following some of those guidelines are a way of self-loving ourselves. And in the same sense, we're also loving others because inadvertently we may be carrying the virus or something similar, right? We could inadvertently affect other people's health. So we're not just loving ourselves, we're loving others by doing that.
Debbie, beautiful. It's so true. And it comes back to mirror work. As I love myself, I love others, right? And so if I'm caring for myself, I'm caring for you. If I am not caring for myself, I'm not caring for others. It's that flip of the mirror that so easily comes back to center. I love that connection. And yes, I agree. Beautiful.
So, Kelly, I did share, somebody had asked in the chat with the name of your book, and that's Internal Journeys, A Spiritual Transformation.
Yes, available on Amazon.
Okay, and for those who have, I did post a link to her book on our Facebook page on today's event. So if you want a quick, short trip to check that out, as well as her website and her bio, all that information is on our Facebook page. Anyone else have any questions or comments for Kelly? Well, I think you've given us a lot to think about, Kelly. Some of the things that you mentioned tied in really well with a previous speaker, Michael Bogar, had talked about soul making, and it really tied in a lot with what you were talking about. So love when that happens.
Yeah. Spirit led.
Exact, most definitely. Well, if there's no other questions, we're going to go ahead and proceed with the rest of our service. Again, Kelly, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, Unity Bremerton.